Okay, there's what it looks like. I'm top corner of the stack, well, bottom now, is against the backstop. I'll pull ahead about a foot or a foot and a half and then finish raising the bed quick and it'll kind of float back and rest against the backstop. I always hate putting the first one against it because we're against boards and they can catch and roll a bale and blow a stack. Usually like to have somebody spotting it, but you know. So that's how this part works out. I still don't know if I'll get anybody to film anything for me, but I'll show you what I can. It's Friday morning. I'm sorry I didn't get you more video yesterday. You got to see this very first stack right here go up. And that was it. There's how it does it. 10 bales, 10 bales, 10 bales. There's your tie tier, 9 bales. Those two go clear through to the other side of the stack, so there's 4 bales there. Rail bale, 3 bales in between it, the same direction as those, tying them together. Another rail bale on the other side. We do that on number 4 and number 7. We used to have a 1048. It was manual. You had to remember to pull the lever to make the tie tiers. You know, before computers, I could actually pick up faster with it than I can with this one. This one's kind of a dog. It's, you know, looks very similar, but does not turn worth a damn. The 1048, I mean, it would cut a circle tighter than a small car, believe it or not. This thing, yeah, it's about like a long wheelbase semi-truck. It don't turn. It's like a long wheelbase old school Pete. They don't turn at all. The older version, the engine was up front. On these, it's back here in the back. You know, let's put more weight to the back. Yeah, well, then they didn't put any extra weights in the back, and this one has plenty of extra. They did what they called a weight kit that goes over the rear axle. Just a box you fill full of concrete. And I think the one in this one might have been a homemade one. I don't know the issue with it. See how close the frame rail is to the concrete? That's the bed rail. Chaff falls into there when you dump loads and when it's loading. You go to put the bed back down, you wonder why it won't come down. It's because it's got chaff packed under it. And, oh yeah, they put the fuel tank to the back. That's right there. So you got an 80-gallon fuel tank. Cool. You got plenty of extra traction for that tire. What's on this other side? Nothing. Well, radiator, but woohoo, you know, a couple gallon holding the radiator, that don't do you much. So when we got this, and we actually tried one out when we still had the 1048, and doing the hill here across the road up above. 1048 made it all across field, no issues. The 1075, oh man, that was the biggest pain in the ass to get up that hill. Had to work across the hill and had to be careful which way you were going, because if the left wheel was uphill, you didn't move. So this one's got a stack of plates in here. There's I don't know, there's probably 500 pounds right there, I suppose. Somewhere between 300 and 500. Makes a big difference because it's right over the wheel. And of course, you know, all electric controls on this one. Everything's electric except for what runs the pickup. That's actually a real live lever. And modifications over the years. Originally it was just 2 bars across. But, you know, people have added things to hold bales in place, and that's how these things all worked. Bad thing about this one, with the old one, you could trip a lever and hold it up, and you could tie the lever, and it would keep, get my arm in here, you can see it, keep all this up here. and you clean underneath it. Where this one's made to block stack, these move independently, or they move together. If they move together, it loads like we load here. Otherwise, it'll lay them flat. Then they're flat in the stack. But all this stuff gets in there, and I'm sorry, that's about all I can do. It weighs way too much. So you pretty much got to have somebody else around, push the button, and then get somebody to prop something in there quick or whatever and dig it out. So anyway, I didn't plan on doing a walk around on this, but you know, it's happening. Second table on this machine was rebuilt before we got it. And funny thing for this one, the last owner of the, well, I shouldn't say the last owner, the owner before of this machine was actually repossessed by New Holland. Gentleman had bought it, probably 40 miles east of us, I guess. Knew they were coming for it. Had a road that went downhill and pulled a hard 90 at the bottom, and he had the field and the river bottom at the bottom of that hill. So since they were coming for it, the idiot got a run at it going down that hill. That's about the best way to make these things move. Incidentally, for those that don't know, that happens to be the same Perkins motor that's in our 3545 Massey that we rake with, the big Massey. Except this one's non-turboed. It's 125 horse in the tractor, so, you know, it's like between 80 and 100 horse in here. It ain't much. But it gets the job done. So anyway, this guy, he gets it out there like 400, 500, 600 feet into the field, and it is buried. And guy that owned the local New Holland dealer here, he at one time was a New Holland rep before he opened his dealership. I mean, we dealt with him 30 years ago when he was a rep. There's our wonderful inside. By the way, those computer screens, they're a pain in the ass to read. Unless you get in the right position, and don't put your polarized sunglasses on or you can't see anything. That gives me bail count. Well, not necessarily bail count, but tier count on how many times tables have got up. And yeah, she's dirty. The AC don't work, so you run with the door open. And I actually cleaned it before the very last load. I had the floor clean. I wiped it all out and went and got, actually this load isn't even a full load, 53 bales on it. And that's how dirty it got. All right, I'm getting sidetracked. Back to the story. So, about then, the local dealership, he was selling those Farmy 3-point winches for logging. And, of course, you know, New Holland guys, they knew where the guy's equipment was at. They knew it was out in this field. So, say local dealer takes his crew out and they show up with a lowboy to haul it off because they figure, you know, he probably did something stupid to it and it's not going to start. Well, the guy stood there with his arms crossed and a smug look on his face. Yeah, you ain't going to get that out of there. It's mine. And the owner of our local dealer, he laughed. He says, watch me. He had like a little 40 or a 50 horse little blue New Holland tractor with that winch on the back. Had a kid go out there, went up past his knees trying to get to it. I don't know where they hooked on it, but this one at some point along the line, there's a receiver hitch on the back, so somebody pulled their pickup around behind them. Because where a lot of these made the block stack run, they didn't run them back and forth on the road. They went from field to field, area to area, and did nothing but stack. They're really not meant to run down the road with a load on them. The book says do not, because you're supposed to block stack it, leave it in the field, and the squeeze comes through, picks it up, puts it on the truck, and it's gone. But anyway, back to it. So apparently the guy's jaw dropped as soon as this thing started to move. And that little tractor and that little winch drug her all the way out to the road, drug it right onto the lowboy, and off they went. So, owner before that, I can't think of the name of the company he owned, but excuse me. You've seen the little squeeze I put on the front of the skid steer for moving little bales. Oh, Marco, I think that's the name of the company. Something like, anyway. I don't even know if they're still going. He used to advertise in the local ag paper, the Capital Press, if anybody of you heard of that. I know most of you around here have. Marco Machine Works or something like that. He had a farm in Scappoose, which is just just west of Portland along the river. This didn't work out for him between field sizes and whatever else. But they did rebuild the second table, and I mean, it looks 100% better than any others I've ever seen. They reskinned it, and they put the new bracing in. And on the top side, there's angle iron running lengthwise to keep the bales from sliding around. And it's nice. It works really good that way, especially on the hills. But anyway, he set up this deal where he made a little accumulator deal that you could sit on the front of your bike, which I made one of those too, but it was before I knew he made his. We actually use it in a couple of fields that are too steep. You know, they got a steep corner this can't get into. So, throw this rack on the front of the bike and go. But anyway, that's the backstory on this poor machine. I don't know where it came from before that. And those of you who didn't notice, you've seen it from that angle maybe. Bale comes in, bale comes up, bale flops over, moves over. The first bale on hits that lever down there. No, it's not mechanical, it's to a switch. When the second bale is sitting on top of that and that lever's tripped, the chain hits reverse, backs it up to this one. Then it flips up onto the second table. And from there, it's all computer. Computer counts how many times that goes up. That goes up 5 times. That one goes up. It also counts how many times that one goes up. That one goes up 8 times, and you fill it again. It's going to say 8 because it doesn't get far enough to trip it this time. But, or well, when you're full. But that's when you're loaded. And, yeah, I need to figure out what to do there. Unfortunately, that's not the best. There's no extra room for that line. Oh, 04. Ooh, don't tell nobody. Keep it clean. You don't got to read too much about it. So, there's what stack looks like. That's what was against the bed on the wagon. See how they tie. These stay up pretty good here. I think it was Hunting and Stuff was asking me about how to get them to stack. We're on a slope here, it makes it easier. That backstop has leaned back over the years a little bit. But let me see. Right about, I can line up on that. Yeah, and right there, my phone is level. So that's the kind of slope we got to that. And being the first part of what you get to see today, when I back up, the bottom corner of that bale will be, just about that board right there. Back up till I touch there, and I pull ahead. You got to pull ahead about 1 foot or 1.5 foot to clear. But then when I let it come on over, I get my foot off the brake and let the machine roll back so that it all hits about the same time, and they stay. And when we used to stack in the field, usually we'd find a dead furrow. Preferably not one that was too freaking deep, but just a little bit of a dead furrow, and we'd stack centered on it, which puts the low spot in the middle of your stack. Right there where they come together. And that way both halves of the stack are leaning together. you had to start with a bulkhead, which any of you know it's in the operator's manual if you got one of these machines. It tells you how to do it. Is it right or wrong? Well, maybe not. I've done it way different than what they say, but it's all the same principle. You don't want to go too many bales high, and you want to taper that up. You want to be straight here, because it will be, because that's the side of the stack that's against the load deck. But back here, you go like too high and then drop it to 3, and then drop it, then put a tie tier or 2 in the middle to help hold it. When we used to do a lot of field stacking, I'd usually do 2 bulkheads. I'd do one that was like 4 high, and then I'd do one that went from like 5 high on up to 7 or 8, and then you can do a full stack against it and you won't have anything laying around. So since I rattled on so freaking long, this is going to make a video by itself with like 28 seconds or whatever I got it dumping yesterday. These forks stay on the back, that's where it lets the thing off. Those slide as you load. This one's hydraulic controlled. I can actually tip it up and then let it down gently. The old 1048s just had spring tension. There was no hydraulic cylinder. And you had to be careful when you let the bed down, because those springs would cut that thing loose, and yeah, you can blow the front end out of the load bed in a hurry. I've seen it happen. I've repaired a couple of them too. This one's in pretty good shape. The one we tried out, oh my God, the front of the thing looked like it had just been beat. And on a full-length load bed, try to get in here and show you. I think I said something in a video about things people do for making them work on hillsides. Take a piece of water pipe, full length across, like a piece of 1/2 or 3/4, I think 3/4 is what we had on the other one. So it sticks up a little, and the front edge of the bale sets on it, and that helps kick it back so it'll stay. On this one, you can't do that because it would catch, and this dead's too short. It's, I don't know, 7 inches or 14 inches shorter than it was on the 1048. Overall, the machine's probably longer. The cab's a lot bigger, which is not necessarily a good thing. This thing's a lot more cumbersome to get around, and I don't know why. We've had it long enough, I should be used to it. But I get upset, like turning into the neighbors as a switchback, and this thing, it's 2 or 3 shots to get in and out. And with the old 1048, swing over to the ditch and drive right in, and when you come out, the same way. So, yeah, you get a 20-minute video. Maybe I'll get something to put in some of that in later. I got to get the bale loader running and move a couple more things, and most of that's going to go in the back barn. And whatever don't fit back there, we'll start filling this barn. I do have a couple customers that want some hay, but the one gal, she needs to wait until my kids can put it in the barn for her, and obviously number one's still out of commission for another couple weeks. She says she's fine on hay for now, so let's make sure I save her some. Widower, and her and her husband have been good customers for like 30 years, so you know, you make exceptions for people even if you're not going to sell much hay. And I got one guy I got to get a hold of. He usually takes a bale wagon load, but you know, I can reload that. We take the bale loader and grab each set and set on the second table and have somebody sit in the cab pushing the button to load it, but that's a pain in the butt too. So anywho, I'll get this up for you, see what happens for the rest of the day.